Hi everyone. So in the previous videos, we have seen how to create backend APIs, and also we have seen how to integrate Flask security, and from the Flask security, how we can implement token-based authentication. So up till now, whatever we have learned is sufficient to create the backend part of our application, and now we will move to the front end part. So you might have seen that, okay, our backend part was hosted on a particular server. Let's call that as server A. Server A is our backend server where all the logic and database is stored for the backend of our application, all the controllers and the logic which is there, right? And and now we will be talking about how to handle the front end. So in your Mad1 project, when you were dealing with it, you were just your backend and the front end were tightly coupled because you were backend only was rendering the templates, but that's in this particular project we would be using in framework which is Java based script framework, which is Vue 3, which would be responsible for creating our front end pages. So Vue allows us to create single page applications, SPAs they call. So what an SPA or single page application is, so if we want to get some data, if you want to if user want to see a particular data regarding a particular product which is displayed on the website, rather than entirely loading the entire page, it just go back to the backend, fetch the data which is required to display that particular portion of that particular content, and it is being displayed, and only the changes happen in that particular section where this data is need to be displayed, and your entire application is just a single page. So that's a single page application, and so Vue allows us to create these single page applications. So now for our project in this Mad2 project, you can consider that, okay, we have a backend over here, and which we have built using the Flask, and also we have integrated Flask SQL Alchemy, and we have created the various APIs which are being exposed to user using Flask RESTful. Flask RESTful is not compulsory to use. You can follow the route approach which we did in very first video of the backend, and so this backend holds all the database and the logic controller which we have seen, right? And only interaction with the backend will happen with the APIs which are exposed to the users. So this is one this you can this particular server, the backend server, can be hosted in any machine. We just need the APIs are being exposed to the user, okay? And now the front end part is also in another server. It's not the same server, it's another server. It can be, ideally they can, the backend server and the front end server can be hosted into different machines, so that's not the issue. So now front end server will interact with your backend server via those APIs which are there. So this front end server which we will be creating, we would be using Vue 3 for creating the backend front end server for that matter. And so here this particular server will hold all the logics which are responsible for the user interface or the user experience which we see, which we want to integrate into our application or in our project for that matter. And so this is a disclaimer over here that since 2024 December 2024, the Vue 2 which is being taught in the Mad2 courses till date has been depreciated by the Vue, and they have launched a Vue 3 which is latest, and we would be making our project and we would be understanding the concepts of Vue 3 as you can see over here, and we would be using CLI approach, not the CDN approach. CLI is command line interface, and we would be following the CLI approach to create our front end server. With this introduction, and these two servers will be integrated with the APIs, will be interacting with the APIs, and so with this introduction, let's jump into the coding style of Vue 3. So this particular Vue 3, there are various components, high level components which are being created in that particular framework. So this particular Vue has two styles of coding which we can see. One is an options API style, and another is an composition API. So if you remember from your theory course which you have done, you might have seen that you were creating methods, methods were there, computed were there, mounted. There were various functions, like data was there which you were defining, and all your methods or computed properties were defined into that particular block which was defined by the method. So these are the high level functions which have been exposed to the user. Inside that they also use the composition API. So you can see that options API are built on the composition API, and so we would be coding with the compositions API, and with that so I hope you have right, you have an options API, you have compositions API. They are different two styles of coding. But if you want to follow options API, you can go ahead. If you feel comfortable with the options API, you can directly go ahead with that. But composition APIs gives us is in low level coding style, which gives us more freedom to experiment with various things. That's why we are gonna go with the compositions API in the project. And this is the screenshot which I have taken from the Vue documentation itself, which says that which one to use, whether to use options API or the compositions API. So for the production use, they say that if you are trying to make we are using single file components, which is generally shorthanded for the SFCs, they ask us to go with the compositions API, because if we are making our entire application with the Vue, which is the purpose of this project, so that's why we are going with the compositions API. So with this small introduction regarding the Vue, we'll see now that how to work with the Vue. So let's go to the documentation of the Vue, which is here on the screen right now, and let me increase the size as well. Yeah, so there are various essential components which are there, like reactive fundamentals which we all need to understand. Also there is some class bindings and conditional renderings which happens on the DOM stands for document object model. And also there are various event handlings which needs to understand before even start working with the project. So these are the Vue basics which we would be looking into the next video. In this particular video we will just see okay, how we can install because Vue 3 requires some sort of installations before we can go ahead. And we will so initially these 2-3 next apart from this particular video, we would be having 3-4 videos where we would be just looking at various components which you can see over here, essentials of the Vue, and also various components in depth. And so basically we would be focusing few on the events, props, slots, and some conditional renderings, class bindings, reactivity fundamentals, and there is lifecycle logics. So we would be focusing majorly on this because these are the few topics which we need when we are making a project in the Vue 3. So with this, this is regarding the Vue, but along with the Vue framework we cannot completely make our applications. We need to have various routings to be infused into our project. So for routing purpose, we would be using Vue router. This is the documentation for the Vue router. Here we will also look at in the fourth videos after that we would be working with the Vue routers, how we can handle various routes, how to send the data along with the routers, as you can see, as you have seen in your backend part where we were sending some data with the URL. So similarly, how we can send the data with the routes which we are navigating to. And to give you an idea about the Vue, and you also have that idea that there are various components which are there in the Vue, and you have an hierarchy of components which follows. So somehow you need to send the data from parent component to the child component. Here you can think of the parent component as the entire DOM, and if you see the sidebar over here, this particular sidebar is one of the child component in your application. Some of the things will remain constant throughout multiple pages, but so for example, if you see over here, if I click on this, you see that this particular section, the sidebars did not refresh, but only this part got refreshed. So this is the part where the route, we changed the routes, the URL got changed, but we didn't reload the entire page, only a section of the page was reloaded. So this is will be implemented with the help of Vue routers. And so you can think of the entire the page over here, this entire page is your parent component, and the sidebars, like this particular, the entire page is divided into 4 parts. Let's say the navigation bar, the 2 sidebars, and the center main component, main content part. So now you have a parent which has 4 childs: navigation component, the sidebar 1 component, sidebar 2 component, similarly. So and if if we want to send the data from your parent component to some navigation bar, or from navigation bar to the side component, how do we send the data across various components, is what we're gonna see. And so all these things are coming up in this videos and tutorials. And now how do we go about installing the Vue 3 and how we go start with the Vue 3? So first let's install the Node.js, because that's what we need in our system before even starting this. So just visit nodejs.org and you can install Node.js from here. I have installed Node.js in my system before, so you can just download it and install. What you can do is open your PowerShell from, you can open the PowerShell, and once you have the PowerShell, you can just check whether after installing the Node.js, you can just say npm version, and let's wait for some time. Yep, I have written npm-v, which gives me the version which has installed. So you can check, you can use npm-v to check whether you have installed npm into your system or not. So that's the first requirement which you need to do before working with the Vue. So you have to have Node.js into your system. So whichever operating system you are working with, you can install required Node.js in your system. So once you have the Node.js into your system, we can start working with the project. But before that also, we can you need to install an extension which would be helping us in coding, and that is Vue DevTools. So if we go look for the Vue DevTools, and you can have entire plugin into your system, or we can just have a browser extension. So we can install the, since I'm using a Brave browser, I can install the Vue DevTools for the and now I have successfully added, let it get installed. And yes, it got installed, and now it has been added to the page. So whichever page is being so for example, if we go to the Vue page over here and look at the extensions, so whenever whichever page is into development and has in Vue.js code, this particular extension will get activated. So let's go there. This particular website does not detect the Vue.js development phase, so because it's into the production. So any page, if you will see it, this particular page will be held. So there is this one thing right now that it depends on which Vue version you are using. Depending if you are using V7 version, which we just installed right now, it only works with Vue 3 and it does not work with Vue 2 and the previous version. So if you want to have, if you're working with Vue 2 itself and you want to use the DevTools, please install the required versions which are there for the Vue 2 and not Vue 3. Apart from the Vue tools which we have done, we have also done the Node.js. So let's quickly go to the particular folder. Yes, so we have opened the VS Code. It is good to, if you're coding in the Vue VS Code, you can also install an official extension over here, which is for the Vue. It is taking some time to load. Yep, so you can install Vue official extension over here, which is already there in my system. So you can install Vue official as in one of the extensions for the VS Code if you are coding in the VS Code. And there similarly you can find, if you are working with any another IDE, you can look for extensions there as well. So with this we can start with few things which I want you to demonstrate over here, and they are, so right now we are working with the terminal itself. Please yeah, so we are working on a particular folder where we want to start with our project. So we can say npm create create Vue@latest. If we use this particular command, it will ask us, it will be creating a project, so it will go through a particular prompt. Let's go step by step. It is creating Vue. It is asking us to define the project name which we want to create. Let's say that we are creating front end for Mad2 project, so that's the project name or the target directory which we are giving for it. And it is now asking us which all things we want to include into our project. As I told you before, we would be needing router, we would be needing Pina. Let me talk about the Pina in a while. And we don't need anything else, so we can just press enter, and it will ask us to it will install over here. You can see a folder has been created with folder frontend Mad2. Also, it is asking us to run these 3 commands. One is cd. Let's run the 3 commands which has been given to us by the prompt. So let's say cd frontend, and this is the same thing which what we're trying to do is we're trying to go into this particular folder which is frontend Mad2. And once we are into that product, we have to install all these things. So we'll run npm install, and it will take some time to install all the Node.js modules which are required to run a front-end server. We'll wait for some time. Yeah, in the meantime, let me talk about the Pina which I discussed, right? The Pina which we included into our project. So I was talking about that parent component. There was a hierarchy within our components, and if you want to send a data from a parent component to a child component, the data can be passed through your direct child. So for example, you have a child 1 and child 2 for a parent P1. The data can be sent to P1 from P1 to C1. But let's say that there is a grandchild which is for the C1. If you want to send the data to your grandchild, first the data needs to be passed to your parents, and then parent can send the data to your child, like we do with the properties. Like if your grandparents own a property, first it can be passed to your parents, and then only it can be passed on to the grandchild's or to the you. So your grandparents cannot directly pass the property to you, and you cannot inherit the properties of your grandparents directly. So that's the analogy which is being also followed into the Vue. So instead of the passing the lot of data is needed by your far away children's, like grandchildren's and great grandchildren's, you have to pass the data from your parents and grandchildren, and you have to follow the entire hierarchy or the graph which is there. But instead you can declare a global state management, a global state where the data can be declared into the global state, and all your components can directly access that particular global state, and then you can access that. So that's where we need a global state management. So an example in a development point of view, let's say that there are various buttons into different components. When you click on that particular component, depending on how many times that particular button has been clicked, you are displaying different messages. But if this particular variable is only your parent component is only the access to this particular variable, this variable needs to be passed on to various components multiple times. I am sure that you might not be understanding what I am saying right now. These things will be clear when we move and we explain the concepts of Pina, or the state management, the global state management, which we will look. But think in this perspective that we have a global state, and all your components, whether children or parents, can access to that directly without following any hierarchy, and that's why we need Pina for that. And so we are using router and Pina. Pina is for state management, router is for the navigation from one page to another, and yeah, and now we are npm install has also been done, and it found 0 vulnerabilities. So we can just run, if we want to start an server, we can just say npm run dev, and so we are using white and the server is being run. It will take, and now our front end server is hosted at this particular URL which says that localhost 5173. So if we visit this particular let's copy this link. It is not getting copied. Control Shift C, and if we come over, this is our first application, which is Vue application over here, and you can see that the dev tool which we installed is now active. So it is being detected on the page, and we can look at the panel or the inspect window over here, and you will see that Vue is one of the things which has also been added for here. So this is the place this is the place which would be helping us to debug the errors and the codes errors which are coming into our project. So that's why this is needed. Apart from this is our first application which is being hosted. So you can see that there are 2 links which are given, and based on when we click on that, they get navigated. So the code, if you look at the code which is being generated when we run all the steps, you see over here that in the front end they have various files. One is let me increase the size over here for the Control Shift plus. So you see we have few files. Important file to us is one is index.html. Let's close the terminal for now. So this is one HTML file, and there are few files which are there in which are interest to us. All the files which are there in this src folder are interest to us. In the next videos we would be experimenting with these files, but for now the application which got generated, this is the code which is responsible for generating this particular application over here, which we see. This is the place where we will stop for this particular video. In the next video we will start with the basics of the Vue. This particular video was just to get started, how to install the Vue, what all things which are needed, and just give an overview. In the next video, see you with the Vue basics. Thank you so much. Bye.